Hello friends and family, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. This video, it is a top-up video for a video that I have done already. Now in this lesson, we are going to talk about how to get data remotely from our API and set this data to our QuickGrid. To go through the first video, what you see on the screen, it is the outcome of that lesson. And by using a QuickGrid, that is a .NET framework of 8.0. So let's take some time and go through this. Now this is what we did. Actually, I'm going to link that video under the description. So you can check on that video to watch, because that is a startup video and this is a top-up. You can see from here we have an ID. And we can now make a search out of this. That is a range over here. We also can sort it. We can also make a search. So you can make a search over here. And it still works. And with the actions too, we can also implement action as delete and update and etc. We have pagination too done. So now this data, how this data works is, it gets the product or the customer list from the API. Now it stores in the browser, that's the client side. Then the paginator set the pagination for it. So in this case, we are displaying 10 items per page. If I right click on this and go to inspect elements, and if I go to network, let me refresh this again. Now let's watch the service or the call that it makes. Customer. Now you see it is just giving us the whole list of customers here. That's around 44. Okay, so you get the customer to the browser, then the paginator set it 10, 10, 10 for a page. Let's assume you're working for a company or whereby the data that you have here is it's a list, huge data. Now, if you use a client browser to access this, it has to download the whole data from the API and store it in the browser before the paginator works. Although the data will be available at the time, but it's going to take a little bit of time. And in case the machine or the computer still is not fast enough, it's going to also slow it down. That is why you can also access it remotely. So by accessing this data remotely, what does it mean? It means the whole data here won't be downloaded into the client browser. But what we're going to do here is, if I click on the first page, so that's the next page, the first 10 data is being taken from the database through the API, then receive it, display. Now, if I click on the next one, I'm going to get the next set of 10 data here. The next one, we're going to do the same thing. So instead of getting the whole data here, we're going to create it into 10, 10, depending on the page size that you want to display to the user. Then grab the page size from the database, display, click on the next button, grab another page size of 10, and it will display it. So we're going to skip doing all this. And we're going to make it 1010 from database. That's what we're going to talk about, remote data grid. That's what it talks about. So I'm going to close this. Now let's go to the source code. So let me just brush through it quick. So the first thing that we did was to install the component. And now this component, it is in preview of 8.0. So length when you have 8.0 of the .NET framework, you may have access to this NuGet package. So we installed that right here. So when you go to dependencies, and that is first of all, it is a Blazor WebAssembly project. So we go to dependencies and packages. You see we have this over here as a QuickGrid. So that is the component that we install from the NuGet package. The next thing that we did was to create our Blazor component. Now in this case, we use a default one, that is the index component. And what it did was to include the QuickGrid. That is the component that we installed. And now we specify the property columns and also template columns and etc. Okay, so the fourth one, or the next step that we took, was here we want to set pagination. So in order to set pagination, we have to get this paginator component, and also we have to set an item over here, and that item value is going to come from this list of data from the API. Then we append as queryable here, or as queryable. The fourth one was to get the range. So you see we have the range over here, and I will specify a column option, min and max, and also a filtered text. So these are the things that we did, and the result was what you see here. So I'll link this video under the description, so check it over there, and I'll watch this video first before you continue on with getting data remotely from the API. Okay. Now when you go to the API 2, so the API, we created the AppDB contest, and we created a model that's a customer model. So customer model is going to find under the share project models, and we see we have customer models here. Okay, and we registered our connection in the program.cs file as this, and we perform migration. We created a controller as a customized controller, and now we injected, initialized the DB contest. So we called an action method here that is get all list of customers, and as you can see, the return type here, it is list of customers, and now we get a customer from the database table, and we convert them to a list, return it to this return type, and that's all. So this is what we did. Okay, so let's see. So let's specify, or let's call the controllers API and also specify some features in it. Aside from that, we have to create a controller action method to fit the web service call that we are making. So let's create the let's update the service call that we created earlier on in the first video, and that's going to be the index.razor. Now when you come here, you could see that we are making a service call here. So okay, so you see we are calling a service over here, and we are injecting the HTTP client, and that is the HTTP service call that we are calling. And here you can see the controller name is API customer. Okay, now we are getting a return type of what? List of customers, and we set this customer list that we created object here to the response. So it means that the whole list from the database is going to be stored into the customer model or customer object here, and that's what you saw in the browser. Okay, so here the next thing to do here is we can modify this to suit what you want to do by getting data remotely. So let's create down here. Let's set it up as a grid. So you can see we have grid item provider, and now this here you can have access to it when you install QuickGrid. So quick item provider. Now here it needs a T value, so that is an item here. It is a customer because that is a model that we have created. Now this customer, we can just say this one is a customer provider. So I'm saying customer provider. Okay, so customer provider. Now this customer provider, we can initialize this, or we can say this is equal to new. So we can initialize it. Now let's see. So this is equal to new customer provider. Let's see if this one, when initializing. Okay, so we can't initialize it, so let's set it to as it is, and let's make it okay. So Now the next thing to do here is, once we've created this, we can now go in there and now specify this customer provider as a reference to this. So instead of saying items, let's edit this, and now we are going to say items provider. Items provider, and we set it to the object created. Now you have to edit this API, this service call, because you want to grab the whole list, not actually the whole list. You want to grab a specific data. Okay. Now you know that in Blazor or in API we can use these two features as skip and take. So we have to specify these two features here, these two parameters, in order to get to database. Now skip and take the next data and submit it to a service here to render it into the component. So we have to do that, or we can do that inside this initialize async, and we can do that also in our service call that we have over here. So in this, now we have this customer provider here, so you can now grab this customer provider, and when we come here, let's clear this off. Let's put it in a different style. So let's say this as a var result. So it's equal to, but before we have this result variable. Let's paste this as customer provider. We set the output of this equal to async. And now let's say this is a request. So this is request because you are going to request. So we say this is request. We point this to, we open app in. So in here, we can now specify some few things up here. So let's have a result set. So we are going to make a set the service call again, and you can use HTTP client. So dot get list from, so you can use get async. Okay, so you can use this get async, or we can also use get from JSON async. So that's going to make it a straight line than the previous one. So get from JSON async, and now in here let's specify the list of customers. Okay, so list of customers. Then inside this list of customers, let's specify the route. So you know, as soon as you pass in this $, it means you're going to specify a parameter. Now in here we have an API. The name of our controller is customer, and in here we specify this request dot. So we can, you can see we have start index. That is where we are starting. So you know, we have skip and take. So start from where, skip this, now take what. So we have our start index here, and we can now go in for another one, that is a request dot count. So request, so dot count. We can also grab this property. So request dot count. So yes, we can grab the number of the total count here, and we close it like this. Then after making a web call service, we have to return. So in returning, we're going to return grid item provider result. Okay, now this result dot, we can have the from keyword. Now this from keyword, we need to specify few things here. The first one, as you can see, we have items. So we say items. Now this items, it is a result that we have. So that's a result. Also, we need to specify the total count of items. So if we check here, you know, from this result, we have total item count. So let's specify this total item count. So total item count, and now we say so let's make it as 10, or the total item that we have is 44, right? So we set this to 44. That's the total item that we have now in a database. Now, once you have this, let's set this to this. Now, the next thing to do here is you can see that we have specified, or we've passed a parameter into this API. So this means that you have to go to the controller action method, and I'll edit it as well. Let's save this. Let's go to Solution Explorer. Now go to your server side and open the controller. So here, we don't want to use this fat arrow. Let's set this. So we get all customers here. Now the next thing that we can do is also a very simple thing. Let's see. So we have this getting us a list of customers, and let's pass in going to be int. So we have skip, then we're going to have the same int and tick. So I believe skip and tick, it is not the first time of you hearing it over here. So skip is to skip it, now tick is to take it. So when you pass in 3, 7, it means you're going to skip the third 3-day record and pick the fourth one. Okay, and from the fourth one, it is taking 7. Okay, so now we have this. What we can do is we can create, let's get a total item count. So this total count. So total count is equal to await. You can call @dbcontext.customers dot. Now you can go for count async. So this is going to count the whole items that we have. Then we can also have this. So let's say var results is equal to, we store this. Now in here, instead of grabbing this toList tree, we want to pass in these parameters. So we say dot skip, then pass in the skip, then we say dot take, and I pass in the take. Then after grabbing the whole data, the specific data here, that is a range of data from this, convert them to list, and now what else again? Let's return. So return okay. Now with this okay, we can return this result. Okay, but when we return this result, when we go to our index, you can see that we specified that's the default or hard-coded value here, that's the total item count. But now we also have the total item count over here. How can we send this data to that component so we can have the data set there instead of using 44? Rather use the total item count. This is returning just a list of customers, so you can't add this. It's adding only the result. That is why we need to create the DTO. DTO stands for Data Transfer Object. So it is used to transfer data from a service to a component. So as you can see, from an API to our Blazor component. Okay, so we can use the DTO to transfer the data from this side into the other side. So let's create the DTO over here, and we're going to create that in the shed because we have the models, and we have so let's go into inside the model. So let's add a class, and this is, let's say this is pagination DTO. So there are two ways to do this. Okay, so let's do the two. So you have public, and we can now create this as, instead of this, we can say list of customers, then we say customers. Then we can also have, let's set this to nullable. Then we can also set list of total count. Okay, so we can do this. You see, so this is public. Okay, so we can do this, or we can also do something like this. So there are two ways to do it. We can also use a record. So public, then we say record splat. Now when you use record splat, all that you're going to specify here can be in here. Okay, so we just have to pass in the values or the properties that you wanted to pass in the value there. So in here, let's grab this list. Let's cut this list, paste it here, put comma, then grab this with the data type 2 as well. So let's cut this and then put it here and close it up. So we can now clear this off. So we see this just one line, and look at this. So we can now use this instead of this. So let's clear this off. But when you use the other one too, no problem, it still works. Okay. So when we have this record, the next thing to do here is let's go to the controller, and now instead of passing in this list, okay, we want to pass in pagination DTO, because you know pagination DTO contains a list of what these customers. Okay. Now in here, the next thing that we can do is, once you have this, we can now go in there to our controller and specify the return. Okay, so instead of this result, only results, let's use new and pagination DTO. Then we can now specify the object, the value that it needs. So this needs first a list. So we say total this result, because that's the first, as you can see from here, any customer has a list and it needs an integer here. So we say result. Then the next one is a total count. So that's, we are returning this model. So whilst we are returning this model, it means that we have to also go to our index and also accept the same model there. But if you check it, we see we are not accepting this list. So we have to clear this. Now replace the model over there. Okay, so that's what we need to do. So in here, we're going to clear this off, and we're going to use pagination DTO. So let's include this. So pagination DTO, that is what we are using here. Now with this, the next thing to do here is we have to specify, like you see, we have the results here and we are waiting the results. We call it HTTP client, we get from the JSON listening. So this is going to be a list and also total count of item. We specify our route over here. Now the next thing to do is here, return grade item provider result and dot from. So from here with the item, instead of this result, we're going to say result dot product, or result dot, and here our product here, the result, the customer. So let's see, result dot, because we have our customers here, that's our result. And now the total item counting, instead of passing in this 44, we rather want to pass in result dot, because we have total count. So that is all that you want to do, or we have to do here to get our data work. So let's say here we have cannot assign or convert integer to int. So let's check our DTO. It is now. So it means this should be now over here. Let's save that. And let's go back again and see. Yeah. So let's build the application to build a solution. So you can see that at first we get all data from this. As you can see, we have the whole list of data from the API, right? But this time around, We're not going to have the whole list of data. We're going to have a specific one. We have error here. So let's see the kind of error that we have. So we have this 59, meaning we have problem here. Now let's figure out and see what's actually the cause. So we have an API, we have our controller, then we have our start index, and also we have our count. Let's check our controller, customer's controller. You see, when you check here, it is not accepting that. So let's specify them here. So the first one, it is skip value, and also at the end here, we use this / and I will specify our tick. Okay, so we have this, we specify the skip and also the tick. Now let's save this and see if we're going to have same problem. Let's refresh this. You see now it is loaded now. So let's right click on this, inspect elements, and let's go to network. Now let's refresh the application again, and now let's see the call that it makes. So you can see it takes in the first 10, and it's only 10 over here. The total count is 44. That's from the DTO, Pagination DTO. It has a total count of 44, but the current item that we have here, it is just 10. Let's click on the next one and see. So I'm going to click here, next one, and now let's see. So we have the next 10, and that is it. I hope you guys understood this. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what I'm doing, please you can give me a thumbs up, so you can subscribe to the channel as well, like and comment too. And the next video is going to be as interesting as this. So I'm going to leave this source code under the GitHub, so you can just go in there and grab it. The next thing here is I'll leave the first video under the description, so check it on it, and I can just click to watch. When you check the channel playlist, we have a lot of Blazor project and also Blazor lessons video. Go through it, and you're gonna have at least some basic knowledge in Blazor and web design and web application creation as well. Thank you so much for being part of my channel, and hopefully I'm going to catch you up in the next video. Take care of yourself and see you soon.